Happiness is more than money. Money is a tool to accomplish my goals.
Hello! You are listening to CPA Career Path Podcast with Rosie Flaherty, CPA MSA. This is episode number 53. We cover career shifts, accounting skills, AI adoption, ministry impact, hobbies, career tips, and money's link to happiness with Eric Bell, CPA, accounting and financial wellness professor at UC Berkeley Haas School of Business. This episode is proudly sponsored by Chapman University's Archibald College of Business and Economics, located in beautiful sunny Southern California. Are you thinking about pursuing a master's in accounting? Chapman's MSA program is tailored for ambitious professionals like you. With intimate class size and a collaborative atmosphere, you will receive personalized attention from world-class faculty who bring extensive industry expertise to the classroom. Enhance your accounting skills, fulfill CPA license requirements, and elevate your career with Chapman's flexible MSA program. Discover more and apply today at chapman.edu/MSA. After you work at Deloitte, it looks like you moved to a smaller firm at Staunton Group LLP. Is that a smaller size?
It's a boutique forensic accounting firm that was born out of Deloitte. So there was a lot of similarities in terms of culture, but it was a much smaller firm. And it was an opportunity for me to move into a partnership role within a firm.
Oh, but you worked there for only like 2.5 years.
Yes.
And then after that, you start your own?
After that, I started teaching full time.
Oh, I see. Yeah, you start teaching full time at last Positas College, and also lately, I think just 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, you start at Berkeley Haas School of Business.
Yes, that's right. Let me step back in the story, because there's a story there. I tell a lot of stories.
I love it. Please tell me.
You asked the professor to speak, so I could speak for 2 hours nonstop. It's not a problem. So when I went to Staunton, when I was chasing partnership, I was chasing money. I've always been attracted to money. Let's be clear. But I was making that move to chase money, and the reason why it didn't work out is because money became my driver, and I lost focus on the things that truly mattered. Now, all the time, I know I started when I was at KPMG teaching part-time at USF. And then when I moved to Deloitte, I was still teaching part-time at Golden Gate University. And then when I moved to Staunton, I was still teaching. But when the focus became not on the joy, but the goal, I was chasing this prize, it became more of a grind. And I would look I would look forward to that day when I would be in the classroom, because that's where my joy would rise. And everything beyond that was just, it was a grind. And I noticed that in myself. And so in 2015, an opportunity came along for a tenured position at Las Positas College. And I had already kind of set my mind on I wanted to become a teacher, like in the future. But I wasn't ready to make that move yet. And I applied really just out of interest. I was curious to see what the process would look like. And they asked me to come back for a second interview. They extended me the offer. And at the time they extended me the offer, I was not ready to leave. I was not ready to leave the accounting profession. For me, it was still about achieving that goal, that money. And taking this position now was going to result in me taking a huge, sizable pay cut. But I had to make the decision, what was more important, doing something that I enjoy, that I that brings me joy, or continuing to chase, chase the money. And so I took a huge leap of faith, um, with my wife's support, to say, you know what, I'm going to step away from, public accounting and just focus full time on teaching. And so I look back on this decision 9 years later, and it's comical how much stress I had over making this decision, because it was one of the best decisions I made in my life, to make that change. But it was a tough decision to make, because I had to acknowledge that I had not achieved what my goal had been for like close to 20 years, which was, I'm going to be admitted into the partnership and I'm going to make millions of dollars and be this, like, this savvy rich guy. But what I've learned is that, happiness is more than money. And your income does not determine your ability to be, financially free and financially healthy.
Money is important. And yes, joy is important too. But I try to understand how you could make that decision when you have family to support and you have kids to worry about all the expenses. It must be very tough.
It was a very tough decision to make. Yeah.
How long did it take you to get back to the financial state that you feel a little bit more comfortable since you started full-time job as a professor?
I think I think I had to reframe my relationship with money and what money means. And one of the things that I did, and again, I'm painting this picture like it all happened intentionally. It did not. Like, life is just happening, because life happens with everyone. And you look back on life and you go, wow, I'm so glad I made that decision. And so, it was at that point, I was like, I need a budget. I need to start creating budgets. I can't just get money and spend it how I want, because I know I got more money coming in. And so I created a budget. I went through a financial workshop series on, how we relate to money, and the importance of creating a budget and setting goals, and working through that process as well. And so doing all of that helped me understand that I had enough money to be happy. I just needed to redirect how I was spending that money, and redefine what happiness means and what makes me happy. And so I think when we start to do that, so now we're talking about, how do we close the wealth gap? How do we build our wealth? And it's about redefining your relationship with money, setting goals that align to your values, and then being consistent in terms of applying those goals to your lifestyle. And then when you do that, you will find, one of the things that I growing up at my church, in our ministry, they've said this time and time again, but you will find that you have everything that you need. We already have everything that we need. We just have to redefine what it is that we think we need.
I think I interviewed one CPA. She mentioned about the definition of enough. How do you know enough is enough? Do you have one house is enough, or 3 houses are enough for you? Is that worth it for you to keep chasing 2 or 3 houses, or just have one house and then enjoy your life? So I think it's close to what you said, divide the relationship with money. That's very true.
Absolutely.
At this stage in your life, if you can just have one sentence to define your relationship with money, what it could be, just one sentence.
Money is a tool to accomplish my goals.
I like it. Very strong. Money is a tool to accomplish your goals. As you teach so many students in college, in universities, what are common things you see in students that they need to work on in the accounting profession?
So I think one is, well, I kind of already mentioned it, and that is students need to understand their why. Why are they taking this class? Why are they pursuing a degree at that particular institution? I think starting there is important. I think our students need to they need to understand how to overcome adversity. I think our students, the students that I interact with now, do not have that same level of grit that I I think I don't think I had it, but I believe that my professors were requiring it out of me, and were bringing it out of me, of like, here's what you need in order to be successful, and holding me to a higher standard that I had to achieve. I think our our students now come in with an expectation of just tell me what I need to know so that I can pass the test, so that I can get the A, so that I can move to the next class. And I remind them, and their eyes light up. I said, I'm not going to tell you everything you need to know, because I don't even know everything, right? So I can't tell you everything that you need to know, but I can tell you some things that you should start thinking about. And as you're reading articles, and as you're watching newscasts, and watching your Twitter feed or whatever it is, how can we become critical thinkers of the information that's coming at us? And now it's coming at us so quickly, right? The ability to critically think through these things is even more important than it was when I was growing up.
Critical thinking seems to be very, very important at this time. And I feel like it's more important from your end when you start from audit, because I remember when I work in audit and I study audit exam, and I always remember this: you have to question everything, every single thing comes to you. You have to question. And I think one funny joke from that CPA lesson that I study is that if your boyfriend say that I love you, ask why. Have the why mindset, critical thinking mindset. I was laughing when I watched that section. I was like, that's so funny, but that's so true.
Yeah, no, it is, and it's even more important now, because with AI, becoming more and more, and let's be clear, AI has existed in our profession for years, right? There's always been accounting softwares that can reasonably predict if this was the expense, or if this was who the vendor that you paid, it probably belongs in this account, right? So we've been doing AI for a long time, but AI is replacing all the processing and transactions. But what AI can never replace is the critical thinking and the effective communication of the data. Accounting and accounting reports is data that needs to be communicated, and there's always going to be a need. People are, like it or not, we live in a capitalistic society. People are always going to be asking the question, how profitable am I, and can I be more profitable? And how can I become more profitable? And the answer to those questions is in the data that we're holding. And so being an effective communicator is critical. And in order to be an effective communicator, you have to understand what it is that you're looking at.
I love the fact that you mentioned about AI, because it's such a hot topic. Yes, AI has been exist in this profession for a long time, but it's just getting crazy lately, because it seems to be like people talk about it everywhere all the time. And yes, AI can replace all the processing and transactions, but cannot replace critical thinking. I noticed that we even changed the CPA exams to adapt to the technology demanding a requirement. And we're talking about that college or universities would need to update or like upgrade or change the academy plans in order to catch with the gap between graduate students and professionals with AI support. So as a professors, what have you done to support the students to assist them adapt to this AI technology?
Not much. Not much. Beyond awareness, I need them to know that it exists. I need them to know how we can work alongside the technology. But I've been really clear about this for years. My job is to teach the accounting concepts, and I don't want to become an expert in Microsoft Excel or an expert in a particular AI technology. I'm going to leave that to my CIS professors and those experts in those fields. And so, together we're helping the student become a well-rounded citizen.
Talking about having students to have beyond awareness about technology, besides of having technical knowledge about accounting and like income statement, balance sheet, what else you think students should have to support them after graduation to be successful in this accounting profession?
Emphasis on, we talk about critical analysis. I think that's important. We talked about communication. I think that's important as well. And I think I mentioned it, but grit. Just learning how to push beyond your comfort zone. And because life is going to, and I know we're supposed to be talking about accounting, but to me, accounting is life. But life is going to continuously challenge you and put you in uncomfortable situations. And so, practicing now in these safer environments, a classroom setting, a midterm exam, a quiz, is just preparing you for those real situations when they come up in life. And so, helping our students push beyond their comfort zones, and for some of them, their self-defined limitations. I'm not good at math, or I don't do good with taking tests. Well, let's see if we can break that mold this semester, and helping them push beyond that mindset. I think it's Carol Dweck who talks about having a growth mindset. And instead of saying what it is that you can't do, let's talk about what is possible. What can you achieve, and what steps can you take to work toward that goal?
Do you have any stories about students in your classroom that he or she was very struggle with the subject, with the accounting subject, and then end up being very successful after graduation?
Too many. I have too many stories to tell. I'm thinking of a young man. He was in one of my accounting classes. He sat on like the second or third row on the edge. He was at Las Positas College. We were at community college. He had dropped out of one of the UC systems, UC Santa Cruz, UC Santa Barbara, and so you can sense in his demeanor that he felt like he failed, right? Because he's back at the community college when he felt like he should be at the university. And he would come to class, he'd sit there, and his body language said everything, Rosie. He started slouching, a young African American man. He started slouching, and then by the end of the semester, he was sitting up, leaning forward, always quiet, but he had this amazing. He understood the material, and that's because I was watching his confidence build, and it's one of those things where when we get to the end of the semester and we actually have a real conversation, I find out that his dad is a partner at a very large law firm. And so he had the family support around him, which is important. And his, he was saying, hey, some of the things that you were saying in the classroom are some of the things that my dad is saying at home, right? But obviously he's not going to listen to his dad because his dad is his dad, right? And so, but I say things and he goes, oh man, that really makes sense. And so I got the opportunity years later to meet his dad, and there was this wonderful embrace. Here's the thing that why this kid sticks out to me. There was an opportunity. We're in California. There was an opportunity to participate at this event at Howard University in Washington, D.C. for accounting students. And I encouraged him. I said, you should apply. And he applied and was accepted. And he said, Professor, when I got there, I was just looking at all the names of the schools. There was Stanford, there was Harvard, there was Morehouse, there was Spelman College, and then there was Las Positas. He said, I was the only community college student there. And that moment for him was like, I can do this. I belong. He ended up going to work at Deloitte. Been extremely successful. Like I said, his father and I built up a relationship afterwards. And that's one of so many stories that I can tell of students who have just gone on to do amazing things. And I'm just happy, to say that I was able to play a part in their success.
It could be a big part, not that small. He seems to change from how you describe from beginning, how it seems his body language shows, and then at the end of the semester, like he's like straight out, lean forward. Looks like he cared. He cared about the profession at the end of the semester. So that's a huge success.
He figured out his why he was there, and what was important.
That's amazing. As you have so many successful stories from your students, do they come back and talk to you after they graduate?
Yeah, they do. I was at an event, a networking event, a couple of weeks ago, and a person walks up to me, and I recognize the name, and I said, "Oh, hey, how are you?" There's a lot of people that I'm reconnecting with, and so I don't know where I know this person from, and she says, and I go, "Oh, yeah, you're working at KPMG? Oh, yeah, yeah." And she goes, "You don't remember me?" And I said, "I do, but I don't." And she said, she told me her name, and she said, "I was a student in your class." And then all of a sudden it connected. And when I tell you, it was a hug, and it was oh my God. And then it was another hug, and I'm like, oh, and I was so excited for her. And so there's so many stories where people end up going to do great things, but we lose touch with them. But they don't forget about us. And so that's another recent one that really just that stuck with me, that just melted my heart.
That's so sweet. That's amazing. I'm so glad that you are in this profession and you find joy in this profession, in teaching or in public accounting. It's just lucky that we have you in this profession, bring joy to students, help students find why. I think that's really important. When you know why, everything else seems to be relevant. Everything else seems to make sense what you want to do it in your life. So I appreciate what you're doing. I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yes.
I love the profession. I owe a lot to the profession. It literally has changed the trajectory of my life, making this choice to go into accounting. And I want everyone to understand that this is the opportunities that you can achieve by starting your career in accounting.
Yeah, talking about accounting profession, you did mention very briefly earlier in the interview about ministry. And I'm just curious how ministry and accounting influence your life, how that connected.
So yeah, so I have a doctorate in ministry, with the emphasis on church leadership. And to me, my faith is like about having purpose, having a specific focus in life. And so I bring that into a classroom. Like my faith is focused in love. And so when I walk into a classroom, there is always going to be an element of love and that I bring into the classroom, and love for my students, and understanding how they're showing up and being mindful of that. Love for the content that I'm teaching, and making sure that I'm doing my best to help them understand it. And then also love for myself, making sure that I create. I know it doesn't look like I have boundaries, but I do have boundaries around my life, and I make sure that that I'm taking care of myself.
I wish I could take one of your classes. It sounds so amazing. Sounds like you are an awesome teacher, awesome professor. So if you have a virtual class that you are open for guests, maybe I would love to attend one.
I'll keep that in mind.
And at the end, I will come and say thank you to you.
Then we have a deal.
Yes, that's a deal. We go through so much about your career. I just want to know a little bit fun about yourself. I'm just curious, are there any hobby, any talent that you may surprise people that people may not know about?
I think two things that are interesting about me. Obviously, you can see in the back, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. Uh, or actually, I'm not a fan. I'm a Star Wars aficionado. I have a Star Wars museum in my garage with about 10 life-size Star Wars pieces. So so that fuels me, right? That brings me back to my childhood. That brings me back to a simpler time. I love Star Wars. And the other thing is that I am a musician. So if I slide this over just a little bit, you'll see I have my guitar right there. And I don't know what this is. This is my microphone. That's my ukulele showing. And if I keep going, it's a little messier over there, but I've got my piano and things. So I I'm a musician, and I play for churches. I play for community centers. I play for different events. I love I love music because it allows me to kind of tap into my creative side of my brain.
That's so cool. You have music instruments in your room. That's so cool. Is that too much to ask if you just play a very short?
A little guitar. I don't know if my guitar is tuned though. I tend to play my piano more than I play my guitar. Um, this is
This
my.
is fun.
Can you hear that?
Yes. That sounds good. Thank you.
Of course, of course.
Thank you so much. It's such a fun conversation. Before we wrap up the interview, I was wondering if you have any last tips and advice for young students or young accountants who just start the accounting profession.
Yeah, I think to wrap it up, I'm going to offer the same advice I offer to everyone, and that is say yes to more. Particularly the younger you are, just say yes to opportunities, because it is about finding that passion, and you don't know ultimately what your passion is, but it's at the intersection of what brings you joy and what you're good at. And so say yes to more. And then the other one is push beyond your comfort zone. I said to my daughter when she was 16 years old, I took her to Paris and we went out, just her and I. I told her, learn to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And so I encourage people to push beyond your comfort zone. And Jay-Z has this amazing lyric where he says, people want to know how I got so fly. It's because I was not afraid to fall out the sky. And, Jay-Z being from, Brooklyn and, those tenements, I can just imagine him standing on the top of a building and just taking that leap of faith and just stepping out when others didn't believe in him. And then not falling because he had to survive. And so say yes to more, push beyond your comfort zone.
Thank you so much. I love those suggestions or advice. And I appreciate all your time and your input today. And thank you so much for the opportunity to interview you on this podcast.
This was fun, Rosie. Thanks for having me.